Imagine waking up one day, not just richer or more productive, but completely rewired. You process thoughts faster. You solve problems easier. People start asking what changed. But here's the twist. You didn't read 100 books. You didn't start meditating at 4 a.m. or drink butter coffee. You just practiced 12 invisible habits that no one talks about because they don't look exciting. They don't trend on social media, but they work like engineering principles. This is not a motivational speech. This is an operating system upgrade. Each of these habits is a tool I've engineered into my daily routine, and every one of them silently reshaped my brain, my business decisions, my health, and my emotional control. And I promise by the end of this speech, you'll realize how much power you've been leaving on the table. If you truly want to break patterns, escape mediocrity, and live with clarity, then you can't afford to miss what's coming next. Let's begin. Let me start by telling you something you won't hear from most productivity gurus. Success isn't glamorous, it's mechanical. The real difference between failure and massive success often comes down to the mundane. Not the dramatic decisions, not the viral moments, but a series of small, invisible habits that seem so unimportant, they're easy to overlook. I built some of the most complex machines on Earth, but before I could do that, I had to rebuild myself. From the inside out. That began with Habit Hash 1. Habit Hash 1 use boredom as a weapon. We live in a world that's addicted to noise. Scrolling, notifications, dopamine loops. The average person can't be alone with their thoughts for 5 minutes without reaching for a screen. And that's exactly why most people never innovate. Boredom is not the enemy, it's the launchpad. When I started scheduling blank time and no input, no noise, just walking, whiteboards, or sitting still, my brain did something wild. It started solving problems faster. It connected ideas I never saw before. Most people drown in distractions. I used boredom as an incubator for deep thinking. Here's the rule. Schedule time where nothing is allowed to enter your brain. Your greatest mental breakthroughs are waiting there. Habit Hash 2 Micro. Session over results. This sounds simple, but it's lethal. Most people track the big goal, money, fame, followers. I tracked something else, small wins. Hour to hour, task to task. Why? Because data creates behavior. If I launched a rocket, I didn't just ask, did it reach orbit? I asked, where did it wobble? How did the pressure hold? Where was the energy drain? That's what made everything better. Micro adjustments, not giant leaps. Apply the same principle to your life. Don't just say, I want to lose 20 pounds. Track your sleep, your mood, your water intake, your screen time, everything. Your brain is a feedback machine. When you obsess over tiny metrics, your progress multiplies. That's how you scale, not by intensity, but by precision. Habit Hash 3 Protect input like it's oxygen. This one is brutal, but it's non-negotiable. Garbage input equals garbage output. If you constantly consume negativity, clickbait, bad science, low-level gossip, don't be surprised when your ideas suck. Your decisions are cloudy, and your energy feels drained. Think of your brain like a high-powered AI. What you feed it determines what it builds. I started filtering aggressively. No low-value conversations, no low-quality entertainment, no mindless scrolling. I built an input system like a firewall. Only what uplifts, informs, or challenges me gets in. The average person spends hours a day letting junk into their mental space, then wonders why they feel stuck. Your future is hidden in what you allow into your mind today. Guard it with everything you have. So let's recap what you've just learned. Boredom isn't bad, it's a hidden superpower for clarity. Tiny tracked improvements matter more than giant leaps. Your brain is a filter. What you feed, it becomes your reality. These are just the first three. They don't require talent, just awareness and discipline. If you apply even one of these habits today, I guarantee your trajectory starts shifting. But we're not done. In the next part, we go deeper into the mental rewiring that happens when you embrace solitude, reframe failure, and hack time itself. Stay tuned. Most people operate their lives like broken machines. They keep patching the leaks, but never stop to rebuild the engine. If you're going to do anything extraordinary, whether it's build a company, transform your body, or elevate your thinking, you must go to the root systems. That's where the real shift happens. Here are 3 more habits that quietly changed the architecture of my life. Habit #4 makes solitude non-negotiable. There's a difference between being alone and being lonely. Solitude is the space where the signal finally becomes louder than the noise. Every major breakthrough I've had personally and professionally happened during deep isolation. When you're alone, your brain finally stops reacting and starts creating. You stop copying the world and start inventing it. I built the core vision for multiple companies during silent thinking blocks. No calls, no meetings, just me, a notepad, and enough time to let the truth rise to the surface. Most people avoid solitude because they're afraid of what they'll find, but if you want to lead, build, or innovate, solitude isn't a luxury, it's a requirement. Habit #5 set unreasonable deadlines. Most people wait for motivation. I use pressure. That's the difference. The human brain responds to constraints. Give yourself 3 months to do a task. It will take 3 months. Give yourself 3 days. Suddenly, everything sharpens. Energy surges. Focus locks in. People always ask, how do you do so many things at once? I compress time. I kill perfectionism. Done is better than perfect. Version 1 is better than version none. Deadlines are psychological hacks, and I weaponize them. You don't need more time. You need fewer excuses. Try this. Take your biggest goal right now and cut your timeline in half. Then watch your efficiency double. Habit #6 engineer your energy, not just your schedule. This one took me the longest to learn. I used to believe success was just about optimizing time, schedules, calendars, routines, but then I realized something obvious. Time without energy is useless. What good is 12 hours a day if you're mentally foggy and emotionally drained? So I started tracking energy, not tasks. I identified when I'm most creative morning, most strategic late night, and most emotionally balanced after workouts. Then I built my day around those peaks. I don't schedule meetings when I'm mentally sharp. I use that time for building. I don't force creative work at night. That's when I think structurally, long term. This single shift, prioritizing energy windows over time slots, multiplied my output without working more hours. That's the cheat code. You are not a robot. You are a dynamic system. Track your energy. Design your life around it. The difference is night and day. Recap so far. Let's reflect for a moment. Solitude isn't isolation. It's innovation. Compressed deadlines build urgency and focus. Energy is the new currency. Spend it wisely. These aren't hacks. They're foundations. If you build your day around these principles, you'll notice something eerie. The noise fades, your mind sharpens, and your momentum builds on its own. You stop chasing clarity, and clarity starts chasing you. In the next section, we'll tackle habits that target your emotional resilience, fear of failure, and how to reverse. Engineer motivation itself. The shift is just beginning. We've talked about thinking. We've talked about time. Now let's go deeper into your emotions. Here's what most people miss. Emotions aren't random. They're programmable. They follow systems just like code. And if you don't learn to engineer your emotional responses, your feelings will hijack your logic every time. These next habits are about taking control of the inner architecture that determines how you feel, decide, and perform. Habit #7 Reframe failure as feedback. Fast failure is painful, but that's not the problem. The problem is how long people stay stuck in the pain. After a failed rocket launch, we didn't sulk for weeks. We reviewed the data the same day. Why? Because feedback loses value the longer you delay it. Emotion clouds analysis. I stopped asking, why did this happen to me? And started asking, what is this trying to teach me right now? That mindset shift from personal shame to system learning is what saved me millions of dollars and years of regret. Reframe failure within hours, not months. The faster you extract the lesson, the faster you build the next version. Habit #8 Observe emotions like code, not truth. Most people believe their emotions are reality. They're not. They're just signals like error messages in a system. You wouldn't take a red warning light in a spacecraft personally. You'd investigate it. Same with life. I started observing my emotions with a kind of detached curiosity. Why am I angry right now? What triggered this response? Is this fear or is this just uncertainty? The goal isn't to suppress your emotions, it's to decode them. If you feel resistance, it doesn't mean stop. It means look closer. If you feel doubt, it doesn't mean you're wrong. It might mean you're about to grow. You don't have to obey your emotions. You just have to understand them. That one insight gives you 10x control over your actions. Habit #9 Reverse. Engineer motivation using action first. Most people wait for motivation before acting. That's backward. Motivation doesn't create action. Action creates motivation. It's a feedback loop. I noticed this with engineering teams. Waiting for inspiration meant nothing got done. But when we forced version 1 into existence, momentum appeared. Action generated clarity, which fed back into confidence. So I applied it personally. Didn't feel like working. I just opened the laptop. Didn't feel like exercising. I just put on my shoes. And every single time motion triggered motivation. If you wait to feel ready, you'll never start. Instead, make this your rule: start first. The feeling will follow. Let's review the emotional upgrade. Failure is data. Process it fast and move on. Emotions are messages, not commands. Don't wait to feel motivated, start moving, and watch what happens. Most people spend their entire lives reacting to feelings they don't understand. But once you become the observer, not the slave of your emotions, you gain leverage. You become someone who doesn't just survive the chaos you build inside it. You're not meant to be ruled by anxiety, fear, or doubt. You're meant to interface with them, learn from them, and keep building anyway. In the next section, we'll get into the final 3 habits, including how I filter decisions, collapse complexity, and install systems that make discipline automatic. That's where the real automation begins. If the first 9 habits taught me how to think, act, and feel differently, the last 3 made it all sustainable. You don't want to just work hard once. You want a system that keeps producing without burning out. These final habits are about building an operating system for your life, one that runs automatically, efficiently, and without the constant need for force or willpower. Habit #10 Filter decisions through first principles. Most people think in analogies. What did others do? What's the normal way? That's why most people get average results. I stopped thinking that way a long time ago. Instead, I began using first principles thinking, breaking problems down to their fundamental truths, then reasoning up from scratch. Let's say you want to get in shape. The average person starts copying influencers, buying supplements, or downloading trendy fitness apps. That's second-hand thinking. First principles would ask, what are the mechanics of fat loss? How does the human body work? What inputs control this system? When I applied this to business, it was revolutionary. Instead of copying competitors, I asked, what are the laws of physics saying is possible here? What rules haven't been questioned in decades? Apply it to your life. Don't copy, break it down, rebuild it smarter. Habit #11 collapse complexity. Relentlessly, complexity is seductive. People equate more with better, but I've found the opposite to be true. Whether it's a product, a team, a routine, or a life, complexity slows everything down. It adds failure points. It creates friction. That's why I've built the habit of ruthlessly simplifying. If something takes 10 steps, I ask, can we do it in 3? If a task feels confusing, I ask, what would this look like if it were easy? If I'm overwhelmed, I zoom out. What's the real goal and what can I delete? This isn't laziness, it's efficiency. The most powerful systems in the world are also the most elegant. Complexity kills momentum. Simplicity multiplies it. Start deleting. You don't need more. You need less but better. Habit #12 systemize discipline. Don't rely on willpower. This one might surprise you. I don't rely on discipline. Not the way most people think. Discipline is great, but it's not scalable. It's a limited resource. If you have to push yourself every day just to do the basics, you've already lost. Instead, I built systems that make the right actions automatic. I design my environment to reduce resistance. I remove distractions so I don't need to resist them. I batch tasks, automate decisions, and make it easier to win than to fail. Example, I don't try to eat healthy. I just don't buy junk. I don't push myself. To focus, I schedule deep work during my energy peak and turn off all notifications. Discipline should be your starter fuel, not your strategy. If you keep relying on willpower, you'll eventually crash. Build systems that make success the default. Final recap, let's lock this in. Think from scratch, not from imitation. Simplify every system in your life. Build processes so strong you don't need motivation. These last habits don't just make you sharper, they make your progress automatic. You stop relying on energy and start relying on engineering. You stop making decisions in real time and start creating environments that decide for you. That's how you create momentum that doesn't die. In the final 2 sections of this speech, I'll break down how to stack these 12 habits into a lifestyle system, one that evolves as you do, adapts with your growth, and turns you into a force that doesn't need external motivation to operate. Let's go further. Habits in isolation are good. Habits that work together like a well-synced machine are unstoppable. The 12 habits I've shared aren't random hacks. They're components of a system. On their own, they help, but when combined, they create an exponential effect. One habit makes the next easier. One unlocks the next level of performance. The result is momentum you can't fake or force. Here's how I built that integration, how I turned these habits into a personal operating system. Step 1. Start with the core engine, habits 1-3. You can't install a complex system on a broken base. So I began with clarity. I created space for original thinking, habit 1, boredom, tracked my smallest outcomes, habit 2, micro-obsession, and filtered the input into my brain, habit 3, protect input. This gave me the mental bandwidth to think clearly. Think of it like clearing RAM. You can't load new code until you delete junk files. Start here. If your brain is distracted and overloaded, you'll never get the rest working. Step 2. Upgrade the system software habits 4-6. Once the noise was cleared, I added the next layer: focus, compression, and energy. Solitude gave me clarity habit 4. Tight deadlines gave me speed habit 5. Managing energy gave me endurance habit 6. Together, these 3 habits replaced grind with precision. I was no longer working harder. I was working at peak levels, on the right things, at the right time. You don't need more hustle, you need better energy engineering. Step 3. Install the emotional framework habits 7-9. No system works if emotions hijack your logic. That's why this layer was critical. I reprogrammed how I responded to failure habit 7. I stopped believing every emotion was real habit 8. I reversed the motivation loop habit 9. The result: I no longer waited for the right mood to act. Action became default. Reflection replaced regret. Emotion became input, not the command center. This layer gave me emotional stability in chaos, which is essential when building anything high stakes. Step 4. Automate and optimize the machine habits 10-12. The final layer is where scalability lives. First principles thinking habit 10 gave me clarity for big decisions. Ruthless simplicity habit 11 kept my systems lean. Discipline through environment habit 12 made consistency effortless. Now, instead of fighting resistance every day, I made success the default outcome of the system I created. Imagine a rocket. Every part, every calculation, every system has to sync or it explodes. Your life is no different. You want to build a system that launches and sustains without needing constant force. The power of systemic habit stacking. Most people burn out because they try to build 12 habits manually. I didn't. I installed them in sequence and let each one support the next. When you do this, you stop chasing improvement and improvement starts chasing you. You stop using discipline as a weapon and start using design. You don't try to change anymore. You just operate at a higher level because the system won't let you fall below it. Final thought for today: these 12 habits aren't secrets. They're systems, and systems don't care how talented you are. They don't care where you started or how many times you've failed. They only care if you follow the rules of performance engineering. In the final part of this speech, I'll show you how to future-proof this operating system, how to update it, evolve it, and scale it as your life expands. Because the real goal isn't just success, it's sustainable transformation. Here's the brutal truth: most people don't fail because their system is weak. They fail because they never built one. Even worse, some do build one but never update it. And like all outdated systems, it eventually crashes. What separates people who plateau from those who keep ascending is this: continuous integration. A system that adapts as you grow. One that evolves with complexity, pressure, and ambition. So here's how you future-proof your life's operating system. 1. Schedule system odd. It's not just goals. Goals are great, but their outcomes. What matters more is how you're running your life. Every 90 days, I review my habits like a system engineer. I ask, what inputs are creating the best outputs? What habits have become outdated or unnecessary? What bottlenecks are slowing my progress? This is not about motivation. It's diagnostics. Just like you wouldn't launch a rocket without a pre-flight checklist, you shouldn't go into a new quarter without analyzing what's still working and what isn't. If something no longer serves your next level, you strip it out. This is how you stay lean, fast, and precise. 2. Build for scalability, not just survival. Most people build systems for stability. I build for scalability. That means everything I do, from time management to emotional regulation to decision making, has to work when the pressure's 10x higher. Ask yourself this: if your income, team, responsibilities, or goals tripled tomorrow, would your current habits hold or would they collapse? To scale, you have to delegate non-essential decisions, automate repetitive tasks, build routines that require zero willpower to maintain. You don't want systems that barely hold up. You want ones that perform better under stress, the way real engineering does. 3. Install anti-fragility into your mindset. A strong system survives pressure. An anti-fragile one grows from it. That's the mindset I operate with. Every obstacle isn't just something to endure, it's data. Every setback is training. Every chaotic week is an opportunity to sharpen the system. Instead of asking, how do I get back to balance? I ask, how can this pressure make the system smarter? Most people break under stress. But if you've built emotional resilience, habit 7-9, and you reframe failure fast, you won't just survive chaos, you'll weaponize it. 4. Keep the system smarter than you are. I don't trust my emotions to run my life. I don't trust motivation. I trust structure. So I designed my systems to protect me from my own laziness, my own fear, and my own impulses. That's the goal, to make your systems smarter than your worst day. If I'm tired, the system still runs. If I'm stressed, the habits still fire. That's how you stay consistent, not through heroic effort, but automatic resilience. The smarter your system becomes, the less you rely on force, and the more you rely on design. Closing thought. You are the architect now. Let's get honest. Most people live by default. They repeat habits they didn't choose, chase goals they didn't define, and break under pressure they never trained for. But you're building by design. These 12 habits are more than productivity hacks. They're blueprints for engineering a life that outlasts failure, outperforms motivation, and evolves with scale. You now have the tools to think in systems, not willpower, filter reality through clarity, not emotion, create momentum that doesn't collapse, and build a future that you design, not one you inherit. The world doesn't need more people doing more. It needs more people thinking deeper, building smarter, and executing cleaner. And if you commit to these principles, day by day, system by system, you won't just change your habits. You'll change the trajectory of your life. Now go build.